What's up guys, Dirk here from intelligentcryptocurrency.com, and in today's video I'm going to address the top anti-Bitcoin objections. So if you know a Bitcoin hater, then you want to send them this video. Or if you are a Bitcoin hater, then watch this video, maybe I'll change your mind. Now, what I'm also doing with this video is if this video gets more than 100 likes, I'm giving away $50 in Bitcoin to a random commenter. So to participate, smash the like button, leave a comment below, and of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you do and this video gets 100 likes, you might win $50 worth of Bitcoin. So let's get straight into it. Bitcoin objection number 1. It's a scam. How many times have you heard this before? Well, I certainly have. There's a lot of people who still believe it's a scam. That is slowly changing, but still a lot of people believe it. So in order to address this objection, first of all, let's look at the definition of a scam. It's a fraudulent or deceptive act or operation. So it's to deceive or defraud someone or to obtain something such as money by a scam. Now, by that definition, is Bitcoin a scam when you purchase it? Well, I would say no, because when you purchase Bitcoin, you get actual Bitcoin. You get units of the Bitcoin network, so there will only ever be 21 million. This is written in the code. This is provable. And when you put your money into an exchange and you purchase Bitcoin, your fiat money goes in and you get that actual Bitcoin. And you can do whatever it is that you want with it. You can send it to other people. You can give it away. You can move it to your cold storage. You can send it to any wallet anywhere in the world that you want, and you get your Bitcoin. So is it a scam? I would say no. You're getting exactly what you're paying for, and you get personal access to that item that you're paying for. You get your Bitcoin and you have full control over it. You know what a scam would be? A scam would be is if I took this physical Bitcoin, you can see this coin over here, and I went to you and I told you, this is 1 Bitcoin, and because it's your lucky day, I'm going to sell this to you for 10% of the price of Bitcoin. You'll never find a deal anywhere like this. Just buy it. I'll give it to you right now. You get 1 Bitcoin. Just give me $1,100 and this is yours. If you want to buy a real Bitcoin on an exchange, it's going to cost you 11 grand right now. This is yours for $1,000. That would be a scam, because this is obviously just it's not even a gold coin. It's like a copper plated nickel coin that has the Bitcoin logo on it, but obviously it's not Bitcoin, right? That would be a scam. But when you buy Bitcoin, you're getting actual Bitcoin that you have full control over, that has value within the network. So no, it is not a scam. Anti-Bitcoin objection number 2. It's a Ponzi scheme. How many times have you heard that being thrown around? Bitcoin's just a Ponzi. It's just a Ponzi. We hear this all the time. I see it. And most people don't even really know what the definition of a Ponzi is. So let's move over onto what is the definition of a Ponzi scheme. It was named after Charles Ponzi, who was an Italian-born American swindler from 1949. And what a Ponzi scheme is, it's basically, like the definition says here, an investment swindle in which some early investors are paid off with money put up by later ones in order to encourage more and bigger risks. So what a Ponzi scheme would be like, I would say, give me your money, and I promise you I will get you 50% return every single month. Now, obviously that sounds too good to be true, but okay, let's just say you trust me because you know me, or I look trustworthy, or whatever the case is, and you give me $10,000. And then by the end of the month, I'm going to give you $5,000, and the next month I'm going to give you another $5,000 and another $5,000, and so on and so forth. So what I do is I go find another person to give me another $10,000, right? So that person comes in there. They also say, Dirk, I like you. I'm going to trust you on this. Here's $10,000. And then what the Ponzi scheme person would do is they would take $5,000 from that second person's $10,000, give it to the first person, so it seems like everything is legit and they got this crazy 50% ROI. And that's how it continues on and on. So the more people that get roped into the scheme, their money gets used to pay the previous investor. So the people who get in first, they get paid, right? And it seems like it's legit. And what happens is, because they get paid, they get used as testimonials, or they go and tell their friends and they say, hey man, I joined the scheme, like it's absolutely amazing. I put in 10 grand, I got paid 5 grand this month, I got paid another 5 grand the previous month. It's just amazing, go do this now. And that just gets more and more people in there. Obviously it's unsustainable, because the bigger it grows, the more people you need to be able to pay the previous people. And at some point, the bottom line is just so big, they're going to lose all their money. And that is a Ponzi scheme. So is Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme by that definition? Absolutely not, because you're not getting paid anything to own Bitcoin. All right? When you buy Bitcoin, you're not getting promised any sort of yield. You're not getting promised any sort of future return or anything like that. You're buying Bitcoin, and all that you get is Bitcoin that's part of the 21 million that there will ever be in the network, and that is what you have. And whether the value goes up or down, that is not guaranteed, that is not promised. So no, Bitcoin is not a Ponzi scheme. Anti-Bitcoin objection number 3. Bitcoin is a greater fool theory. Now, what is the greater fool theory? Let's look into that. So the definition of a greater fool theory is basically that you can make money from securities, in this case anything really, whether they are overvalued or not, by selling them to a gullible investor or a greater fool. So basically what this means is that whether something seems to be completely overvalued, whether it has value or not, it doesn't matter if someone else is willing to buy it from you at a higher price. And this is something that applies not just to securities, it applies to any mania, anything, whether it's real estate, whether it's stocks, whether it's precious metals, whether, it's Beanie Babies or collectibles or Pokemon cards or Bitcoin. If there is a mania, and that has more to do with psychology and investor sentiment. If there is a mania and price action is being driven higher and higher and higher, well, at some point, there's always going to be someone who feels that FOMO, that fear of missing out, and they're going to be willing to pay more than something is actually worth. That's the speculation. That has to do with the human psychology of greed and wanting more, and just, sitting on the sidelines and seeing an asset go up and up and up and up in price, seeing your friends, your family, your neighbors get rich off something that they bought a long time ago and you don't own it, and you just want to buy in, even if you're probably paying way more than you know it's worth. But because of that greed and that FOMO, it tends to happen. This is something that applies to anything. Like I said, any type of investment. So is Bitcoin a greater fool theory? Well, I guess, if there's always going to be people who are going to be willing to pay more for something than something is worth. And that especially happens during the mania. So, are there going to be people who want to buy Bitcoin? The answer is absolutely yes. There's going to be people who are going to continue to pay more. We saw it throughout the booms and the busts, right? There were people who bought Bitcoin at $16, $17, $18, maybe even $19,000 for a single Bitcoin towards the top of the mania. Is that the greater fool? Well, when it dropped all the way back to 3,000. So the person who bought at 17, 18, 19,000 in that time period would have been the greater fool. But who knows? Maybe in future, the price will go to 30, 40, 50, $100,000. And then obviously the person that buys it at that top, whatever that might be, that person is the greater fool. So probably, can you call Bitcoin a greater fool theory? It doesn't apply to just Bitcoin. Like I said, it applies to anything. It has something more to do with just investment psychology. So, I don't know. If you want to call it that, I guess you could, but it applies to everything. So I don't really think it's a valid objection at all. Bitcoin objection number 4. It's not backed by anything, right? Like you want something that has, that I guess people think that because it's a digital asset, because it's somewhere, in the internet, in the net, in the web, whatever you want to call it, right? It's not tangible. And I guess that's people's biggest concern, is that there's actually nothing backing it. But I'm going to show you in a second, there actually is something backing it. But if you think about what is backing your fiat currency, have you thought about that? It used to be backed by gold, physical gold. What is it backed by now? Right? And you can say the government, yes, it's backed by the governments who will use the police and the military to enforce their backing of it, right? If you say, hey, you don't want to accept this US dollars, for example, well, you have to because it's legal currency, right? That's legal tender. You can pay with it. But again, there's a trust system based on it. But besides that, what is fiat currency backed by, right? It's just a paper note. It's essentially worthless unless other people believe it to be worthy. And the only reason that happens is, again, because it is backed by the governments who will enforce it with their police and their military. Now, Bitcoin is actually backed by a huge computer network. And what we're looking at here is the total hash rate. So this is the estimated number of terahashes per second that the Bitcoin network is performing in the last 24 hours. And you can see since its inception of Bitcoin in 2009, right, for the longest first few years, there wasn't much growth there at all. But you can see here, since about early 2017, the Bitcoin network, so the computers running the Bitcoin software, has been growing at a parabolic rate. You can see over here. And that just means that the stronger the network is behind Bitcoin, the more secure it becomes. The less likely it is that it's going to be hacked, the more people are investing their resources, their time, their hardware, their staff and hours, and their electricity costs to help secure and protect this network. So Bitcoin is actually backed by an enormous computer network with a lot of resources that are going in behind this, a lot of people who are committed to making sure that Bitcoin does succeed. Anti-Bitcoin objection number 5. It has no intrinsic value. And a lot of people are saying this, I hear it over and over again. I don't know, some people might just want to sound smart and saying, hey, it has no intrinsic value. What is intrinsic value? Now, according to Investopedia, intrinsic value is a measure of what an asset is worth. This measure is arrived at by means of an objective calculation or complex financial model rather than using the currently trading market price of that asset. In financial analysis, this term is used in conjunction with the work of identifying as nearly as possible the underlying value of a company and its cash flow. So, if you're talking about Bitcoin having no intrinsic value, what about the cost that it takes to produce a single Bitcoin? Because there is actually a real-world cost to producing Bitcoin. And you can see over here, in early 2020, researchers predicted that the cost to mine Bitcoin will be around $12,000 to $15,000 after the block reward halving in May, which has already taken place. And you can see over here, the cost to mine one Bitcoin is $8,206. This was previously, like I showed you earlier in the Forbes article, it's probably going to cost higher. It depends a little bit on the hardware costs and the jurisdiction where you're in, also the electricity costs. So if you get access to really cheap or free electricity, obviously it would be a lot cheaper to create a Bitcoin. But whatever the actual figure is, it's several $1,000s that needs to be invested to create one new Bitcoin. So I would argue there is an intrinsic value to Bitcoin because that is literally how much it costs to actually create it. So the minimum base cost of a Bitcoin would be whatever it is to create it. So I would say there is an intrinsic value to a Bitcoin. What is an intrinsic value to a $100 note or a $50 note, right? Is there an intrinsic value? Right? You have to ask yourself those questions. So if someone is saying Bitcoin doesn't have intrinsic value, well, it costs, let's say, $8,500 to produce a single Bitcoin. I would argue that is the intrinsic value of a Bitcoin. Bitcoin objection number 6, you can't use it anywhere. And this is one I've heard quite a bit of people saying, hey, Bitcoin might be interesting, but what's the point? You can't use it anywhere, right? Well, first of all, the amount of merchants and places that are accepting Bitcoin is growing. It's a slow process, okay? It's just like how the internet evolved over the last 20 years. In the beginning, it was slow. There weren't very many websites where you could buy stuff online. There weren't many websites where you could use it. But over time, as the amount of users grows and as the technology improves, the use cases for it improve. So the same with Bitcoin. The longer it exists and the more people start buying it and start owning it, the more people will start accepting it. And the amount of places where you can use Bitcoin is growing. So there is actually a small amount, comparative to a regular fiat that accept payment, but it is growing continuously. You can see over here, Wikipedia, Microsoft, AT&T are using it. Even Burger King in Venezuela announced a partnership with CryptoBuyer to accept cryptocurrencies as a mode of payment. KFC, Overstock, Subway, Twitch, Miami Dolphins, right? And the list goes on. Stores that accept Bitcoin as a payment, Bitcoin.travel. You can actually book hotels and flights with Bitcoin these days. There are websites that facilitate that. There is bitcoincoffee.com. You can see over here a whole list of websites. And, I also accept Bitcoin. If you want to join my membership Intelligent Cryptocurrency, you can pay me in Bitcoin or pretty much any other cryptocurrency. So the more that it gets used and the more adopters of cryptocurrencies there are, the more people that also have a business will start to accept Bitcoin or crypto as an option. And sure, you can't go into a coffee shop and buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin, but is that really the point? That's not the point of why Bitcoin is created. It's not meant to be a digital dollar. It's meant to be a store of wealth, but you can also make larger payments with it. Now, you can buy a $3 cup of coffee? No, because the transaction fee might cost you $3. So there's absolutely no point. It's also going to take 15 or 20 minutes to be actually able to make that purchase. But that brings me to the next objection. It is too slow to use for payments. So like I was just talking about, yes, Bitcoin might be too slow to use as a everyday grocery type form of money, right? Where you go and buy your groceries or your coffee or anything like that. Also, the fees are too high. But it depends on what your purpose is. And I don't think Bitcoin was created with that in mind, to be used as everyday money for buying groceries. So if you look at the median confirmation time over here of Bitcoin, it takes roughly 20 minutes for Bitcoin to create one confirmation. Usually you need to have 2 confirmations, so it can take up to, say, 40 minutes on average to complete a Bitcoin transaction. Now, obviously, if you want to buy a cup of coffee, you're not going to wait 40 minutes to be able to make the payment, right? That would be ridiculous. Also, the fees would be too high. But like I said, look at larger payments and compare it to, for example, making wire transfers. If you're going to make a wire transfer for $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, $1 million, whatever it is, that transfer usually takes at least 24 hours. If it's an international transfer, it can take multiple days. Besides that, it doesn't work out of working hours, so it doesn't work at night, it doesn't get processed at night, it doesn't work over weekends, it doesn't work on holidays, right? So if you want to do $1 million wire, right, whatever it is for your business, or you want to purchase something, or whatever the case is, it's going to take you a day or multiple days to get that done. With Bitcoin, it's going to be much cheaper, because a wire will cost you, what, $30, maybe more, maybe $50, $60, depends a little bit what bank you use. But if you're using Bitcoin, you can get that done for a few dollars within under an hour. So, is Bitcoin slow? It depends what you're looking at. For a cup of coffee, yes. For a larger transfer somewhere else, no, right? And you can send that globally anywhere in the world very, very easily. You literally need to scan a QR code and it's done. With a wire transfer, you need all the information. You need the addresses, the corresponding bank address, the blah, 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 the SWIFT, and all this kind of stuff, right? Bitcoin's super easy. You can literally take your phone or your wallet, type in the address and send it, and boom, it's done, right? So super, super easy. Is Bitcoin too slow? Once again, it depends on how you measure it. For coffee, yes, but that's not what it's designed for, like I said. And although they're working on the Lightning Network, which is supposed to make all these kinds of micro transactions possible, where you can pay for your coffee with Bitcoin in a fast time where there's low fees, maybe in future that will be possible. But for now, that's not the point of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is more of a store of value and for larger purchases. And you can see here the price of Bitcoin, since it's been created, has been in a very clear uptrend. Now, of course, we had peaks, in 2017, where it peaked and it went to almost $20,000, and then it dropped back down to $3,000. Currently, as I'm making this video, it's at about 11,700. But, if you would have bought Bitcoin anywhere previously to that spike of the 20K, you'd be in profit. So buying Bitcoin and holding it would have increased your overall net worth. And that's what it is. Bitcoin is a store of value. And the more people who want to buy it, the more people are going to hold it. As it grows in users, the higher the value is going to go. You can see over here the active Bitcoin addresses, the historical chart. You can see this is the amount of active addresses that hold Bitcoin. And you can see also there's a very clear trend since it started in 2009 to where we are now, and that trend is heading higher, and it will continue to head higher as more and more people learn about Bitcoin and start to use it. And that's the network effect of Bitcoin, right? The more people who own it, the more people are going to talk about it, the more people are going to accept it, which is going to create the self-fulfilling prophecy that more people are going to want to buy it so that they can use it because, hey, you know, my favorite store is all of a sudden accepting cryptocurrencies, or my favorite streamer or YouTuber is accepting Bitcoin for his merchandise, or whatever the case is. I'm going to buy some Bitcoin and maybe I can interact with it. You know, maybe Reddit obviously is working on getting their users with crypto moons and getting involved with cryptocurrencies, gamers, and this just gets more people into the ecosystem. And as that grows, well, then the whole ecosystem grows. Bitcoin will also grow as a result of it. And that brings me to my final Bitcoin objection, number 8. Bitcoin is just a fad. It is a small thing that came, it's a hype, and it will not stick around. Well, as I've just shown you, okay, the Bitcoin active addresses have been growing for more than 10 years. Bitcoin has been around for more than 10 years. The price has been increasing for the last 10 years. And why would massive companies like this, I've already made a video about this, I'll link to it up here if you haven't seen it, where I go through all the reasons why I think Bitcoin is absolutely going to explode. But if Bitcoin was just a fad, right, and it was just a short-term thing, do you think a publicly listed company, MicroStrategy on the NASDAQ, would put $425 million into Bitcoin for the long term? They're talking, their vision is a century, right? They're talking about the long term. Would they be doing this if Bitcoin was just a fad? Would Paul Tudor Jones, the billionaire macro investor, buy Bitcoin or invest into Bitcoin, even though it's Bitcoin futures, but would he put his assets into that if he thought it was just a fad, right? Would Square put $50 million worth into Bitcoin, right, if they thought it was just a fad? Would Stone Ridge reveal a $115 million Bitcoin investment as part of a $1 billion spinoff? I've gone through this in different videos already, so I'm not going to go through all of that again. But basically, there's so many companies and investors and funds actually buying Bitcoin. If it was just a fad, why would they be doing this? All right, it's been around for more than 10 years. Banks are starting to offer crypto services. VCs are investing hundreds of millions of dollars into startups and infrastructures for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Is it just a fad? I think no. So if you know someone who is a Bitcoin hater who has said any of those things that I've just clarified, please send them this video and then ask them what they think about it. And if you're currently a Bitcoin hater and you watch this video and you're still watching to this point, hopefully I've given you some good counter arguments of your perceptions of Bitcoin, and hopefully you'll be able to change your mind and perhaps one day or now go and purchase yourself some Bitcoin. So thanks for watching. My name is Dirk. If you enjoyed this video and you want to get more content just like this, please subscribe to my channel below. It's 100% free. Click the notification bell after you hit the subscribe button so you do get updates when I publish future videos. And remember, I'm giving away $50 in Bitcoin once this video gets 100 thumbs up. So smash the like button after you subscribe. Leave a comment with your thoughts. And, you know, if there's any objections that I didn't cover in this video, please leave it in a comment. Why do you think that Bitcoin isn't going to work? What is your anti-Bitcoin comment that I didn't cover in this video? So please leave that in the comment below. And if you do want to learn more about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and you're interested but you don't know where to get started, consider joining my Intelligent Cryptocurrency membership. It's a community and an education. I've got courses that'll get you up to speed about cryptocurrencies. I publish a monthly newsletter every single month, 25, 30, 40 pages sometimes, where I share my research and insights of the crypto market. I share projects that I think have high potential to make enormous growth in the future. And we've got a private Discord chat group where you can get access to all the other members and myself personally. So if you want to learn more about that, go to intelligentcryptocurrency.com. Check out the first link in the description below. And once again, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.